Hello and welcome, everybody. In today's Activist to Follow, we are delving into the bright and vibrant world of creative activism with New Zealand vegan artist Lynda Bell. As we learn more about her painted stories and how veganism doesn't always have to be the grim darkness that many of us will know it as, it can also just be so bright, colourful, and full of joy, as we can even see behind Lynda.
Yes,
So
look at that.
I'm Gareth Kerr, and I'm joined with my wife and co-host, Jackie Norman.
Hello.
And thank you so much for joining us today, Lynda.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
What an amazing backdrop. Amazing. Look at, you wouldn't be a New Zealand vegan if you didn't have a bit of Lynda in your house. I don't know if you can see that, but there we go. Mine is only small. I've got to work up to your size, but look at that. It's the most beautiful artwork. It's very much loved artist here.
We got the card a few years ago, but the thing is, though, it's too beautiful to send to anybody. We're sort of like, I love you, Mom, and stuff. I'm going to send you a card, but not this one.
Not that one.
This one.
It's always behind us on the shelf. So we brought it out this morning to show it off.
Yeah.
Oh, big compliment. Thank you.
Oh well, we've been chasing Lynda for a while, and it's so lovely to finally have you on the show. And so, a question we often like to begin our talks with is what brought about that initial ethical connection with animals in the first place. So, what was it, Lynda, that sparked your vegan journey?
Oh well, I mean, I think it began very early in childhood. Really, I mean, I was brought up eating meat. But we had so many animals, and my mum has always been very connected to animals. And so she rescued a lot. We had a lot of, stray cats arriving at our house, and we'd end up keeping them, dogs, ducks, birds, all sorts of things. We had, my friends called our house the mini zoo. So we had a lot of animals, and I was always very connected to them, particularly my rabbits. And probably anyone who follows my art probably knows I have a thing for rabbits. So I remember when I was younger, I'm not sure how old I was, about 8, and somebody brought home a rabbit that had been killed. Somebody had hunted it, and they gave it to us for a meal. And I couldn't even believe it. I didn't even know that people ate rabbits. So for me, rabbits were not meat. They were these beautiful animals that, they were my friends. And I remember seeing it boiling in the pot and thinking, I was disgusted and I refused to eat it. And it wasn't long after that I started twigging on to the fact that the chicken I was eating was the same as the chickens in the backyard. And so I started to, it was a bit of a conundrum for me because, of course, I was learning that we have to have meat to survive, and this is what everybody around me believed. And yet I didn't agree with the killing animals part. So it took me a few years, and by the time I was 16, I'd convinced my mum to let me go vegetarian. And this was early 90s. I hadn't heard of veganism. I had no idea about dairy and eggs being cruel. So, I thought I was doing the best possible thing. And yeah, for many years I was vegetarian and brought up my kids vegetarian, my husband vegetarian. And it was actually when I joined Facebook, and I was a bit of a late joiner to Facebook. I started to see things that, posts about animals and posts about the dairy industry and the egg industry. And I didn't like what I was reading about, and I didn't like the images that I was seeing. And I started to think, wow, maybe I shouldn't be contributing to this by buying eggs and dairy. But of course, I was one of those, I'll never give up cheese. It's just impossible. How can I do this? And so, it's ridiculous, really. But it was happening. And then one day I was sitting in a vegetarian cafe, and I was reading a vegetarian magazine, and there was an article, and it was a man discussing about why he was vegan. And he talked about one thing that really got to me. He said, imagine an alien race coming down to Earth, gathering up the women, making them have babies, hooking them up to milk machines and doing all the stuff that, we do to animals. And I think, that just really hit me like right then. And I was vegan from that second.
Wow,
yeah. And I actually, my husband worked in that cafe, and I went up to the counter and I said, I'm vegan now. And he was like, oh, okay. And I think he was vegan by the next day as well. So it was nice and easy.
Fantastic.
I
Yeah.
know somebody else like that.
Yeah. I was the very staunch sort of like, I'm never in hell am I ever going to go vegan. Vegetarian wasn't even on my radar before
Right.
my change. And it's kind of is interesting with rabbits as well being like an earlier sort of catalyst, because I think I see in the comments as well, there's a few other people have had rabbits in their lives that have helped to build that initial thing. And even for myself, I was unfortunately one of the hunters going and catching the rabbits on the local hills back in Wales. And for me, as I went down the journey, that was one of the thoughts in the back of my head that just kept ticking over, like this wasn't right. And there's such wonderful ambassadors for kindness down the line. Rabbits, they're just beautiful creatures. And
they are.
yeah.
That's actually so inspiring when I hear of somebody who has hunted and is now vegan. There's hope. There's hope for humankind.
I've done plenty I'm not proud of over the years, but this is the thing, when we've had experiences like for myself with the hunting or Jackie having been in the dairy industry previously, then we can bring them to the fore and learn to advocate better with those experiences. And so for me, I'm able to talk with hunters about such things, and because I know what it was like, I did it, but not anymore.
I can see that we would be very valuable for helping people to, understand where you're coming from now.
For sure. It's interesting. We were at NAD at the weekend in Wellington, and we were talking to wonderful Maya, author that you may have seen us interview in our activist series in MC Roan, and we were talking about some of the younger people. There are a lot of the younger generation there, young children they were talking, and Maya's daughter got up and spoke, and it was fantastic. And we were saying it's so much easier to explain to children what, without going into the gory details, this is so-called food, and the penny just dropping with them, and they just make that connection then and there without, having those years of stealthy kind of conditioning that we just get further and further removed, and it was so wonderful to see so many young people. So
that's awesome.
It was very cool. Gives us hope for the future. But we've been learning so much about you, Lynda. I mean, we've been admiring your work for a long time, as you know, but we've learned so much in our research before talking to you today. And another element of your past that I'm curious to learn about is your training in fine art and art therapy. Engaging in creating art is often a pastime that we prescribe among fellow activists who are dealing with secondary trauma and burnout and all of the things that are so common in the movement. While we understand you largely consider yourself to be self-taught, which is amazing when you look at what is behind you, especially with regard to technique, how's your training in art therapy helped to shape your works and the artistic flow?
I think my training in art therapy was actually pretty pivotal for me in my art practice. I came out of that training knowing for absolute certain I wanted to be an artist. Really, I always knew it, but it just gave me that, not only that surety, but just the path I wanted to go down as an artist. So, I learned a lot about how arts, or all of the arts, can heal a lot of trauma. It can be an amazing tool for a lot of things. And one of those tools is communication. Often, an artwork can say a lot more than words can. And it doesn't always have to be right in your face and too confronting and scary for people. It can actually plant some seeds and make people think a little bit. That actually drove me to, or inspired me to, train in fine art, because I decided I wanted to write and illustrate therapeutic picture books, which I still haven't got onto. So I wanted to make stories and images that would inspire people to, basically be the best that they can be. And part of that was being kind and compassionate. It's a big part of being a better human. So I started doing a design degree in Christchurch, but the earthquakes came along, and we moved. We went to Timaru and Dunedin as well. And so my degrees kind of pieced it up with 3 art schools over 4 years. But what I ended up doing, it was in a way a great thing. Not that I would ever say the earthquake was great, but it was great that I was pushed into this other environment where I was given just free rein to just paint. I was given a space, and I could do whatever I liked. And so I started painting fairy tales, because I'd learnt a lot about the symbolism, metaphor within fairy tales and the hero's journey, a lot of that in my art therapy training. And so I painted fairy tales, but I related them to my own trauma and all the stress that I was going through at the time. And it was very, very healing. And each one of those fairy tales had an animal within them. So there would be a fairy tale character with an animal, and that animal would be sort of symbolic of the journey as well, like healing and getting through something major. So this sort of naturally led me into just animal advocacy, animal rights, because it's always on my mind. It's just something that probably I'm the most passionate about. So a few years later, I ended up painting a fairy tale series again, and this time it was about my journey into veganism. So, and each painting had a different step towards it. Actually, the one behind me, if I lean down, that's Happily Ever After. So that was the finale of the series, where it's sort of like, this is the world I want to live in, this happy, compassionate world. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
That's wonderful.
I actually love that. And yeah, I suppose it's quite a cathartic process, this whole journey, really, just getting that out of you.
Yeah, really. Yeah. And really nice actually when other people started to see it and relate to it, because I was always, my friends and family, apart from the people I live with, weren't vegan or vegetarian, weren't artists. So I felt a little bit isolated in how I was feeling about all of these things. But when I started hooking into the vegan community online, and people would say, oh, you're painting exactly the way I feel, and that sort of thing, I started to think, oh, this is definitely the right path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Even though some of my friends over there don't understand it, doesn't matter. It's actually helping out other people.
It's one of the beautiful things about being a creative, isn't it? Like when you put a work out there, you never know how it's going to affect other people. And
no, you don't know. Yeah,
it is lovely. Like, and I'm looking forward to talking a little bit later about one of the works that caught my eye whilst doing the research for this, because I think all of us. I'll bring up for our viewers on the screen soon more of the gallery from the website and stuff like that, so people can see more of the images. But yeah, there's just so many little details, and the longer you look at them, you're like, oh, I didn't spot that animal there before, and then I have that personal story with it. But during the research I was doing for the interview, I love the intuitive sort of approach you take to painting, in which you start off with just random strokes of colors and patterns until the idea finds you. That's a creative method I love using myself, because, well, most of the time I don't know what the hell I'm doing, so it's got to find me, because I'm never going to find it.
Which is the best thing.
Yeah. But with non-human animals, making up the focal point, or at least like the protagonist or the main body of around the work, is there an aspect to your process that helps you define which animals will find themselves on the canvas?
When I'm doing those intuitive paintings, really, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's really, I let it flow. So whatever animal appears first usually starts to dictate what's going to come next. So as I'm painting, sort of a story starts to form in my mind. And so, with a lot of the animal rights artworks, though, I do actually have a little bit of an idea in my head. Even if I start the actual painting intuitively, I don't know what it's going to look like. I might think, for example, a painting I did that was quite popular a few years ago called The Protector. That was one of my first big vegan works. And so I had an idea that I wanted to do a goddess, like an earth goddess, and I wanted to do the animals that were vulnerable in terms of they were hunted, they were eaten, or they were used for animal testing. And so that just dictated the type of animals that I put on the canvas. Yeah. But otherwise, it's different every single time I paint. So my technique and my process is constantly changing.
It gives me hope, yeah, because I'm one of these people. I'll go and buy all these, like somebody said here, you can get vegan watercolor brushes, you can get vegan watercolor pencils and things, and I will buy all those things as I did recently, and I haven't got the confidence to put it all on paper. I might have these wonderful ideas, but if you don't start, how do you ever know where it's going to go? So it's wonderful to hear of your process. You've got some great fans here. We've got Ellen here that's saying that she loves and cherishes your work and has bought several of your works online. And Stephanie says you're her new favorite human. So
oh, that's amazing.
It's lovely to bring your work to a new audience today.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it is difficult on social media these days to get out there and be seen.
Yeah, it's a big world, but there's a lot of echo chambers, and so it's lovely to be able to break some of those barriers here. And
sure.
Actually, just to touch on what you sort of mentioned before as well with the watercolor brushes and stuff, have you found it a struggle as well going forward with your art, finding vegan art supplies? Because myself recently, I went to the local charity shop. I picked up some cheap oil pastels that I found there for $1, and I was like, I'm going to make some art. And so I drew this anti-vivisection rat, and then I finished it, and then I got to the end and I was like, I don't think those were vegan. I think I just used corpse pastels, as I now call them. And so I got to stick that, I think, in the local notice board or something like that, get it out of the house, but
still get your message out there.
Still get the message out there. But there's so many things in the art world that, you think, I can paint something beautiful and vegan, but this has got dead things in it.
And there's just things you don't even think about as well. And that's actually something I learned a few years into my vegan journey. I didn't even think about art supplies not being vegan. But thankfully, the paints that I already had and was using were actually vegan by default. So actually, I couldn't find out anything online. I had to write to the company to find out. So yay for that.
Relief indeed. It's good when that happens, and we did have a few of that, but my very brief foray into to getting art supplies the other day, Gareth was so long, it took us longer to actually look everything up standing there, what was vegan and what wasn't.
It takes ages.
It really does.
The employee kept on circling around and around to make sure I wasn't stuffing them in my pockets. Instead, I was just sitting there with the phone trying to, is this vegan? Is this vegan?
Exactly me. That's me and Gordon Harris for sure. I'm looking everything up, and it's very hard. Sometimes you can't find the thing that you're looking for at all.
Well, you're obviously making the absolute best of everything that you have to work with, and we just love it. It just brings so much joy seeing your work, and with so many real world struggles adorning our social media pages, it shows the darkness and cruelty constantly happening to our fellow sentient beings, and it's something that it doesn't go away, let's face it. So is it ever a struggle for you when you're painting, to reimagine these beautiful animals that are suffering in these utopian worlds that you create?
I think when I'm not painting, it can be a struggle. Sometimes we all go through those times when we think, humanity's lost. We're never going to get better. But this is where art comes in and just makes it good again. As soon as I pick up the paintbrush, everything's happy and joyful. So I just naturally paint. I can't paint anything negative. I don't think it's in me at all. So it's in a way it's real. It is a form of reality. And if we can see it, even if it's in a painted form, we can start to believe it. And I think the more that we can believe it, and the more that we can focus on what's good about the world, and the humans out there that are doing really great things, rather than the humans that are doing horrible things. And also things like, there's so many more people who are vegan now. And just looking at the world, the way it will look when everybody is adopting a cruelty-free lifestyle. I just think it inspires us more to do more. I think sometimes when we can get bogged down in the misery and the anger of it all, well, this is actually I'm just talking personally, because I think anger can fire a lot of people up and make people do great things. But I think when I get unhappy about a situation, pretty useless. Like I can't really do a lot of things, and spreading the misery isn't helping anyone. But when I feel positive, that's when I'm more likely to make things happen. Yeah, and I'm purely talking from a personal standpoint here. It's difficult because those awful, horrible images, they're what turned me vegan. So I had to see that, and I had to know about it, and I don't think we should hide that either.
Yeah, it's something we're always advocating for here at Vegan FTA, is that sort of that whole across the board activism, and the whole cross section of showing the worst that's happening and the real wins that are happening at the same time. And for each of our advocates out there, they resonate with different things. Outreach might be their thing, creative activism might be someone else's, business, hospitality. There's so many ways we can advocate, and it's great to see how you've used your positivity as the channeling sort of emotion, the force for it, and there are plenty out there who channel that anger, who channel that sadness, channel hunger. If you do food stuff, I don't know, but whatever resonates with an individual, it's great to see them utilize that and then use it for the animals, and
definitely. And you're working.
Totally
I mean, it keeps so many of us activists over here. I can't speak for other countries. I know, Australians are lucky enough to know about you as well. But so many of us have got, big or small. Tara Jackson from New Zealand Anti-Vivisection Society, she's got huge Lynda Bell works, in her place. This is half our house that you can see here. So to date, we need to work on something bigger. But
I can hook you up.
That sounds fantastic. We would love to rip that. And it's great because we all need a bit of a lift, and we all do deal with a lot of the dark stuff, and it does give us hope. And you showcase so many of the beautiful animals. Looking this morning, you've got a possum in there. I'm sure we'll be able to bring that up. And it's so great that no animal goes unnoticed, unseen, and untended to by your brush. So it's lovely.
Yeah, I was actually trying to figure out what animals I hadn't painted. And I did a post on Facebook, suggestions, and everyone suggested, I've done that. I know there's a few breeds of dogs I haven't quite done yet. And there's definitely some animals out there I haven't painted, but I've got to find them.
Yes, you must be doing a pretty thorough job.
They have to find you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was going to suggest a badger, but I can see one on the screen to my right now. So the badger is covered.
I've done the UK badger, but I haven't done honey badger or the USA badger. So that's actually something I need to work on.
Yes, diversity in badgers. I love it.
Yeah.
But, each one of your painted stories has its own beautiful narrative to engage the viewer. And upon seeing the work, I personally found myself making connections with the animals within them. As I was saying earlier, whilst researching, I came across Azella, the bear godmother, and that image. I absolutely love it, and it features as
you and your bears.
as the audience can probably expect, the bear godmother features a lot of bears, and it's beautiful. I love bears myself. One of which was cool. There's a sun and moon bear in there, and seeing these gorgeous creatures just took me straight away just back to an interview we did with Jill Robinson for our activist series from Animals Asia, and that's where I truly learned about the plight that is going on with the sun and moon bears, with the bear bile industry. And while the image, fills me with so much joy to see the painting with the bears, it reminded me that I need to keep fighting for them. And so there's sort of that duality of, it takes me back to that more sorrowful time, but then I'm so joyous to see them in this beautiful visage. I'll try and bring it up on screen. I'm not sure if it's on your website, that one. I know it's on the
it has sold. So I'm trying to think how.
Wherever you are, how dare you?
It's still on my wall.
It's such a beautiful image. And would you be able to share a bit more about the narrative that is within Azella, the bear godmother, and with myself and the audience?
Oh, well, I mean, she's part of my godmother series. So I've actually done 44. I'm working on number 45 of godmothers. So each one protects a certain group of animals. And sometimes that's animals, say, that are tested on. Tara's got that painting actually. Or it's animals that are used for fur or something like that, farmed animals. And then there's certain groups of animals. So we've got the bears. And I mean, I had to do the bears. Not only because they're adorable, but because they really do get a raw deal. A lot of them. And the sun and moon bears, it's quite disturbing actually what happens to them. And so, these godmothers are all about protecting the animals. So they're kind of like, they're there to inspire us to know that this is kind of our role as human beings. I think, we think we're all better than all the animals, and but we have the ability to, we can take and we can use and we can abuse, but what we actually need to be doing is actually protecting, letting the animals live the way they're supposed to be living, and caring for them when they need us. So I really think that that's our role. So this is what these godmothers, Azela is one of them, is doing, saying, she's saying, let's protect the bears, let's care for the bears, let's let them be happy.
I love that.
Lovely, and if folks haven't already, please do go check out the work by Animals Asia, and the sun and moon bears. They are just so cute. I think
amazing.
I think it's the moon bears who they've got the darker faces, but they have these big bushy, almost like sideburns, and they just
they remind me of Wombles a little bit.
Yeah,
Wombles, very adorable and definitely not fair what happens to them. I think Animals Asia, they need our support more than ever at the moment. They're going through one of their biggest campaigns yet. So, so definitely check that out. But I love the way, like you say, it's very cathartic. And I love the way that, you think about, absolutely our role as humans in protecting those animals and in bringing that to life with art. And, I love the way that through your art, you can make anything happen. And it just does give you hope for the future. And not only does your art inspire compassion towards real life animals, it transcends into those mythical worlds and the beauty of imagination as well. And, with animal rights activism, we often see that theme of presenting the truth truly as it is in our advocacy efforts and creations. And while there are many surreal examples of creative activism out there, most tend to lean towards an element of realism bound to those darker visions of cruelty to animals, like we were talking about before. You sort of lean into that anger and the dreadful things that happen, which is totally understandable. And we make those visions a bit more sort of palatable through artistic stylings. I'm curious to know about your feelings about this style and the importance of ensuring that, we do show another side to this. We show the love, the joy, and the hope for the animals, like you have been doing with your Goddess series. Do you feel our advocacy could be strengthened as a whole by more people following their imaginations and bringing joy that joy that we're all fighting towards the way that you're doing?
I think so. I mean, I think the human race can be strengthened as a whole if we get a little bit more back to that childhood that we leave behind so quickly and suddenly. I never did. Not all of us do. This is why sometimes I get baffled, because people will assume my art is for children, because in my mind it's not. It's for everybody. Of course, it's child friendly. But because that imagination and that love of, I don't know, cuteness and happiness and joy, it shouldn't be just a thing that only children enjoy. We should all get into that. And I think I know that it makes me a lot happier. So yeah, I mean, the as far as art goes, there's so many different ways of artistic activism, and it all totally has a place. And I used to think in the beginning, when I was getting into this sort of form of artwork, I used to think perhaps I wasn't really putting the message across strongly enough. I would see people doing artworks that were pretty graphic, but really disturbing, but you couldn't look away, and they really made you think and feel. I think if I was eating meat when I saw them, I'd be feeling pretty bad about that. And yeah, I used to think, well, you know, I need to get more gritty and I need to show the horror. But, you know, of course I can't. I think I did one drawing of a little girl holding a gun. You know, she was going hunting and she was also cradling a deer. And that was the only thing I've ever done that's been a little bit like that. And I just didn't make me feel good. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, absolutely. I think the more that we can imagine and the more that we can play, the better the world is.
Yeah, agree more.
I really like as well that point you sort of touched on at the start there with, you know, with as children we find it so much more acceptable to do so many things, like embrace that sort of like colorful, that joy. And I can't remember where it was. I was some podcast, something they're just talking about this whole thing of how we hold ourselves back so much as adults. And so even like going for a walk, and a child will go and brush their hand along the long grass, you know, they'll touch the trees, they'll do things like that. And then as an adult, we go for that walk and we're like, I'm an adult now. I want to touch that tree, but I'm not going to touch the tree because I'm an adult now. And even myself, I try to do it now. Like if I get that impulse, so, you know, oh, that's a cool leaf or something, you know, of course, vegans try not to disturb nature too much, but, you know, like brushing your hand along, you know, the stone wall and stuff like that. We hold ourselves back so much. And then also going into that aspect of feeling like we need to be more gritty, we need to be more serious with things. I found I've limited myself a lot with my creativity over the years in thinking that I have to be, you know, I need it to be stern, I need to be hard, I need to be brutal, cool, you know, like, and by trying to keep it in that extreme sort of mentality, I then hold myself back from where I naturally want to go creatively. Like my hand, if I let myself just sit there and draw, will go into more softer shapes, but in my brain I'm wanting these hard visages, and you hold yourself back by locking yourself into it, don't you? It's
absolutely I think it's something that I even got out of art school. It wasn't even related to veganism. It was just you need to be this angst artist, and you need to paint about the darkness and you know, your trauma, or you know, someone else's trauma, or whatever it is, you know, otherwise you're not being a real artist. You're not doing anything for the world, which is, of course, I completely disagree with that.
Exactly. I get that as a writer too, you know, if we don't, it's essential. We're supposed to suffer for our art and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that whole suffering artist.
Yeah.
I don't buy into that one.
If you take the Buddhist perspective, life is suffering, and so there's suffering everywhere. So we don't need to cause more suffering in order to capture that suffering. We have to understand it, and then we can find our path to betterment from that. And so, it's lovely to see how, as we've talked about, that sort of cathartism coming through in your work as well, and getting those ideas out there. And that's the understanding of the suffering, bringing about a brighter image, a much brighter and colorful image, which is just so lovely. But continuing on the theme of strengthening our advocacy for the animals, I see you're also part of the Art of Compassion project, an international collective who donate 100% of the proceeds from various art projects to non-profit vegan organizations. Would you care to share more about this project and how it has further helped you to make your art for the animals?
Oh yeah, it's so great, Art of Compassion. I joined, I think, around 2016, and it was really when I was just starting to get the vegan artworks happening, really, and really starting to know that this was the path I wanted to go down. And I found this group, and it was pretty small then. It's pretty huge now. I don't actually know what the numbers are, but so they're vegan artists from around the world, and it's all run and organized and founded by this amazing woman called Lee Sanders, and she kind of gets us doing things. So over the years, we have sold a lot of prints at different vegan expos, some really big events all around the world, a lot of them in the UK, the USA, China, and Europe as well. And so all of the profits that we make go towards animals. So for each event, we'll have a different sanctuary or vegan charity that we are raising money for. And there's an art book actually that we've put out on Amazon, and we always do a calendar every year as well, which also raises money. So with the prints, us artists will pay for what it costs for the prints to be made, and they make them in the country where they're doing the event, and then they get sold, and profit goes to the animals. So it's not just about making the money. It's about we actually reach so many people through the art. And of course, people love coming to see art. It's, something colourful and it's nice to look at. So in those big events, the art really often takes centre stage. So it's a great way to get the message across, because every artist is doing things in a different way. And there are artists like me who are looking at the positive aspects, and then there are artists who are, painting and drawing the darkness and, things, earbuds keep falling out, things that just make people think about their choices, I guess. Yeah. And actually currently we're working on a oracle deck.
Oh, fantastic.
I can't wait to see that.
I've dropped the link in the comments below for folks as well, if you do want to go check out the Art of Compassion project. But I feel I'd be remiss if I didn't mention actually your book as well, Rainbow Dreams and Tea Parties, the art book, in which we can learn all about all of your paintings and illustrations from your art career today. For viewers who have been enjoying the artwork in the background here, and also some that I brought up on screen earlier, I will post the link to this in the comments as well, so you can go and check it out. But I feel it'll be just a fantastic book for, I know how you said earlier, it's not art for kids really, but I think for anyone having young creative minds in the household, this will be a fantastic reference book, and even just a lovely book to just view yourself. And yes, as adults too, have that enjoyment of the cute, the amazing, the beautiful, the brilliant and vibrant colors. So I'll drop the link in there, but yeah, please do check it out, folks. Rainbow Dreams and Tea Parties. So I'll drop that link in.
Yes, my art from the last few years up until, I guess, mid last year, which was when I made the book.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but it's large. There's a lot of pages.
You've done a lot of painting.
Yeah, 260 or something.
Sounds about right.
By 200.
Amazing. We need that book too. I'm sure I've got room for that.
I have a few
signs in amongst all the plants.
It goes really well with plants.
Absolutely. Sounds. I see. I'm plants on the inside and plants on the outside as well. So, but I'm so glad that you mentioned the book there, because we definitely is something that we'd love to tell more people about. And in the lead up to this talk, we know that you've recently been at the Auckland Art Show and have been super busy getting your amazing artwork out to the masses, which we're doing today. We've got people here from Trinidad and all over the place, so it's so wonderful to introduce them to you as well. We'd love to know, you've mentioned your Oracle deck. Are there any other projects that you're working on that you'd like our viewers to know about?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm working on an oracle deck of my own, aside from the Art of Compassion project. The Godmothers, that's what they're going to turn into.
Awesome.
So I don't have details yet of when exactly, but I am in talks with a publisher. So we'll see what happens. Of course, I'll update everybody when I know what's happening. So I'm working on my very last painting. Yeah, so the point of difference with this oracle deck, of course, is that there's a little animal welfare flavor in the messages. So I'm really excited about it, actually. I've got to finish one more painting, and then I just have to finish the writing for it, and it'll be ready to go. And find a publisher.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, that's so cool. Well, we need one of those too when that comes out. I'm not someone who says I want this and that, but we need one of those. Definitely. Keep me posted.
It sounds like a great plan as well, because I know so many people who are sort of spiritually minded, and they like those sort of those decks and stuff like that, but quite a lot of them still haven't quite made that connection yet with they're very aligned with their chakras elsewhere.
Namaste, I'll go eat a steak now.
So lovely to reach some more of those folks too, and get them on board. And it's just been so fantastic having you on today. And I put the link down below. here, folks.
Here we go.
So
Up by lyndabell.com if
Yes.
you are listening. Lynda with a
you.
Y.
And what other platforms can viewers find you on in order to keep up to date with all your latest artworks and the Oracle decks as well?
Well, I've pretty much got myself everywhere, I think. But I'm mostly on Facebook and Instagram. So, you know, Facebook, it's Lynda Bell Art. Instagram, it's also Lynda Bell Art. So it's nice and easy. Yeah. I do have a very minimal presence on TikTok and Twitter, LinkedIn, and I can't remember any others. But yeah, I get myself out there. And I've also, if anybody's in the north of New Zealand, I do have a studio that's open for visitation by appointment. So I'm at the Arts Quarry in Whangarei, if anybody's up here.
Lovely.
You can come and
Wonderful.
see a lot of my art
If
there.
we're up that way, we would love to come and see what you're
when,
wearing.
when we're back
Yeah,
up
I'd love to
north,
see you.
we'll come bother you. Like,
Awesome. Come bother me, I don't mind.
oh, that'll be wonderful. So yeah, folks, please do go check out the website. Go check out Lynda's other social media pages. Actually, I will give a special shout out. I'm not normally a big fan of TikTok myself, I'll admit it here. But your TikTok, I really enjoyed checking that out during the research process, because you have some of your work in progress sort of like short reels on there, which are really interesting for someone like myself who's trying to get more into my artwork again. It's lovely to see that sort of process appear on the thing, and especially with some groovy tunes as well. So it's it's so lovely to check out.
The music helps. Yeah, TikTok is something I need to strengthen and be on more. So I'm just so busy painting, so it's finding the time.
I can imagine. Well, thank you for inspiring so many of us. Like I said, if you're not a New Zealand vegan, if you haven't got a bit of Lynda, and if you don't have some serious love for Lynda, it's, you know, you inspire us and just bring us so much joy, and you're in so many of our homes, and you know, you might even inspire me to break out my vegan watercolors finally over the weekend. I'll probably end up drawing I don't know, a stick man or something, but
just
I've created a potato.
That's how I start. Just paint strokes of whatever.
It's the key, isn't it? You've got to start. So
yeah. The white paper or canvas is daunting sometimes.
Definitely. I've got it all up here, just getting it on the paper. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much once again for joining us, and thank you for all of our audience tuning in. I hope this has brought some brightness, some color to your vegan activism today. And so, yes, can't thank you enough for joining us, Lynda.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Lovely to have you. Enjoy your day, everyone, or evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. Bye.